Hello everyone, back to today's first video, doing JMA Friday for today's first video. So it's going to be your month-ahead look ahead. As always, on a Friday, we're going to have a look at the Japanese and CFS V2 models, see what they're showing for the month ahead. And this will take us to the middle of September. So actually going to leave meteorological summer and go into the start of autumn with this update, and you'll see what JMA and CFS models are predicting for that very shortly. Just say that today's second video update will have a detailed look at the weather for the next week to 10 days with the ECMWF, the GFS and the GM shorter range models, and then tonight we'll have a detailed rundown for the bank holiday weekend. Going to be the third update for the bank holiday weekend. But kicking it all off today, the first of three updates is JMA Friday. So let's have a look at the Japanese model for the next month. So these are the 500 millibar height anomaly flowcharts broken down into weekly periods. We're looking at the North Pole view down. So this is the North Pole of the Northern Hemisphere just here. Mid-latitudes of Northern Hemisphere are around there. Blue is extrapolating to below average heights, which is low pressure, and yellow, orange and red extrapolating to above average heights, which is high pressure. So the coming week sees that we've got an area of, and these are broken down to week periods, I should just say. So the first week period takes us from the 17th through to the 24th of August. The coming week sees that we've got above average heights to the south. We've got high pressure to the south of the UK with below average heights up to the north. The jet stream is coming into the northern part of the country like that. So for the weekend, it's a classic north-south split really. Northern areas look quite unsettled. Scotland, probably Northern Ireland, having influence from the jet stream. You'd expect cloud and bands of rain to be coming through, and probably quite cool as well. But for England and Wales, we're close to that ridge of high pressure, which is centred a little bit to our south. So plenty of dry weather for England and Wales. Not necessarily overly hot, but certainly pleasantly warm, and mainly dry in the south, more unsettled and cooler up in the north. Then we go through to week 2, and this takes us from the 24th through to the 31st of August. We find the above average heights are weakening a little bit down to the south, so pulling out into the middle of the Atlantic and also over here to northeastern parts of Europe, with below average heights up to the northwest. So I think that's bringing a little bit more influence from the jet stream down across many parts of the country actually through this final week of August. Could be a little bit more unsettled and a little bit more changeable even down into the south with that one. Don't get me wrong, it's not a very unsettled spell of weather. If it was, we'd have a blue colours over the top of the country. We haven't got that, but it's just a little bit more changeable perhaps there through the final week of August. But then we go through to the first 2 weeks of September. This takes us from the 31st of August to the 14th of September. The JMA wants to build in this area of above average heights again. The centre of it is over Scandinavia, with below average heights around Greenland. And so the flow on the jet is like that. So we're going back onto the warm side of the jet there, and with high pressure close to us, you could expect mainly dry and quite warm conditions. Now remember, this is a 2-weekly anomaly, so it could well be that it's doing something like the first week is starting off with high pressure and mainly dry and warm conditions, and then the second week sees a deterioration. You can't ever rule that out when you have a 2-week anomaly that could some sort of transitional situation going on. But as it stands, it does look as though the early part of September could bring back some drier and warmer conditions once again. Let's have a look at the temperature and precipitation anomalies that go with those heights by having a look at the tropical and mid-latitude view. So on this chart, we've got the equator of the Earth just there. Northern Hemisphere is on the northern side of the equator, and Southern Hemisphere is on southern side of the equator. Of course, we can't see the poles, but the South Pole is down there, and the North Pole, which we're just looking at, so we don't need to see it again, but the North Pole is off the chart and up there. America and Canada are over there. We've got Asia over here, and also we've got sort of western and central parts of Russia there. Europe is just there, and the British Isles, most important of all, of course, for this update, is in the top right-hand corner of the chart as you're looking at it. So, for week 1, we find that, again, we've got that north-south split, so we've got the above-average heights to the south of the UK. Can't really see the below-average heights to the north, but we know they're there, and the jet stream is particularly affecting Scotland and possibly Northern Ireland as well. Temperature anomalies look like that, bit of a north-south split. It's hard to make it out, but for Scotland and Northern Ireland, it's close to, or possibly even hints at being a little bit cooler than average in the week ahead, 17th to 24th of August. But for England and Wales, it's a little bit warmer than average. Many parts of Europe also coming out with a warmer than average week ahead. Precipitation anomalies are looking like that. Again, north-south split, so for Scotland and Northern Ireland, it's a bit wetter than average. For England and Wales, actually looks a bit drier than average in the week ahead. So definitely the best of the weather will be in the south, worst of the weather will be in the north in the week ahead. Then we go through to week 2 with the above-average heights seemingly pulling out into the middle of the Atlantic. We thought there might be a little bit more influence from the jet stream in this week. Temperature anomalies are going cooler than average through most parts of the UK, actually, through this final week of August. This takes us again from the 24th through to the 31st of August. And so, if this is right, we end this long, hot summer, perversely perhaps, on quite a coolish note. So that's the weather doing something quite strange again. This very, very hot and memorable summer ends generally a little bit on the cooler than average side. As far as precipitation is concerned, it's not too bad, however. I thought the jet stream might be dipping in even into the south, but it's not as bad as that, actually. It is coming out mainly drier than average through most parts of the country in this week. So it does go rather cool, yes, but not particularly unsettling. In fact, turning drier for northern parts of the country compared to week 1. And then we're through to weeks 3 and 4, which takes us from the 31st of August to the 14th of September. And at that point, it looks like the above average heights are trying to build back in from Scandinavia. Again, we can't see Scandinavia on this view, but we know we have got the centre of high pressure up there somewhere. So the temperature anomaly goes a little bit warmer than average through these first 2 weeks of September, coming out with slightly average to above average temperatures. And as far as precipitation is concerned, again, it's more or less on the drier than average side. Again, do bear in mind this is a 2-weekly anomaly, so there could be something transitional happening there in terms of things becoming more unsettled in week 2 after a warmer, drier week 1. We can never rule that out. But overall, it looks like early September wants to bring back high pressure at the moment with the JMA. Let's see whether the CFS V2 is in agreement about this. So again, these are 500 millibar heights. They break down into week periods. The first week period will take us from the 17th through to the 23rd of August, with above average heights centred over and a little bit to the south of the UK, and below average heights centred to the north. We've got an influence from the jet stream into Scotland in particular. So again, that does depict a north-south split, but it's perhaps a little bit further north with the high pressure compared to the JMA. But overall, again, it does depict a north-south split, with northern areas getting the most influence from the jet. So cooler and slightly more unsettled for Scotland, maybe Northern Ireland, but warmest, driest conditions for England and for Wales as well. Then we go through to week 2, which is the 24th through to the 30th of August. And this is at odds with what the JMA is showing this final week of August, because the CFS wants to actually build this high pressure over the top of the UK and send the jet stream further north up towards Greenland and Iceland. So the jet stream is going up there, which means that most parts of the UK would end August and end the summer of 2018 on quite a dry and potentially very warm note there, actually, with high pressure over the top of the UK. So a little bit at odds between the two models for the final week of August. Then week 3 shows a change again. So this is the 31st of August to the 6th of September, with the above average heights pulling into the middle of the Atlantic and also moving over towards the northeast of Europe. This is kind of like what the JMA is hinting at for week 2, actually, but this is week 3 with the CFS. So the high pressure is kind of like splitting, and we've got below average heights up around Greenland and Iceland, and probably a little bit more influence from the jet stream doing something rather like that. So through the first week of September, we possibly turn things a little bit cooler, a little bit more unsettled, actually, there. And then we're through to week 4, which is the 7th through to the 13th of September, with above average heights to the west-southwest of the UK, below average heights to the north. The Flurma jet came through rather like that. So it's a bit of a northwest-southeast alignment. The driest weather would be to the southwest of the country, and the most unsettled conditions would be to the north and to the northeast of the country. Rather cooler, though, for most of us, I would have thought there, and probably a little bit more changeable, especially so for northern parts of the country. And again, at odds, really, with what the JMA is showing. So there is a lot of uncertainty here about this late August, early September period. I think uncertainty is the key word for JMA Friday this week. Temperature anomalies in the week ahead are coming out warmer than average through most parts of the country, so both models are in agreement about that. And then week 2 temperature anomalies with the CFS V2 taking us from the 24th to the 30th of September, also coming out rather warmer than average as well. But JMA wants a cooler than average week for that final week of August and of summer 2018. Then we're through to week 3, which is the 31st of August to the 6th of September, and we find that temperature anomalies are lowering back towards average. So there's a little bit of a cool down taking place there through the final week of September, and those sort of average type temperature anomalies continuing to week 4 as well. The 7th to the 13th of September comes out average in most parts of the country. Still a bit warmer than average down to the south, but definitely I think early September with the CFS does look a little bit cooler compared to late August. Precipitation-wise, the coming week does show a north-south split, so Scotland, Northern Ireland come out a little bit wetter than average, England and Wales come out a little bit drier than average. Then all places go drier than average through week 2, the 24th to the 30th of August. All parts are drier than average in that week. So definitely signs that the high pressure builds back for the final week of August with the CFS, which the JMA doesn't really want to do. Then we go through to week 3, and precipitation anomalies are going towards average. So obviously after this warmer, drier sort of end to August, we see that the temperature and precipitation anomalies for the first week of September are going to average. So obviously there is a cool down and a slightly more unsettled feel beginning to take place through that first week of September. And then that takes us through to the final week of September, the final week of the update, which is the second week of September, 7th to the 13th of September. And that's when, again, coming out close to average with precipitation, perhaps a little bit wetter than average to Scotland, a little bit drier than average to the southwest of the country. So, a little bit of quite a lot of uncertainty here with this week's JMA Friday. It does look as though the second half of the latter stages of August is going to continue to have a fair amount of dry weather. Both models are kind of in agreement about that, except in the weekend it is a bit more changeable for Scotland, but most places having quite a dry end September. Quite dry into August. Early September becomes a little bit more uncertain though. JMA wants to build back the above average heights, whereas the CFS is just hinting at it might turn a little bit cooler, a little bit more changeable through early September. So I think you have to wait and see on that one. For the rest of August though, still plenty of dry weather, especially so down in the south where it will often be quite warm, not as hot as it was earlier in the summer. That very extreme heat that we had in July is gone, and there's no evidence that it's going to come back in the next few weeks. So just pleasantly warm in the south, mainly dry, a little bit more unsettled up in the north, but overall not too bad at all for the rest of August. And then we've got the uncertainty about early September. I suspect next week's JMA Friday will shed more light on what may happen during September. Right, come back later on this afternoon when we'll have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days. Tonight we've got your third bank holiday weekend update. But that's all for now, and thanks for watching.